Hey, Loopline here, and I wanted to go over the Learning Mode Poster add-on. So if you don't have it installed, go to Add-ons and Show Available Add-ons. When the list populates, you're going to find the Learning Mode Poster add-on and install it. Once it's installed, go to Add-ons and go to the Learning Mode Poster Beta and launch that. And we have three different sections here across the top, and inside of each tab there is various things. And so we're going to start actually in the learning section. So first we need to identify a platform that we want to train, and then we're going to need a list of URLs from that platform. So we just use Scrapebox, to scrape those up. Once we have that, I'm just going to load in a list here, and it's test URLs is what I called it. And so you're going to click on a given URL. For instance, let me click here on one, and it'll bring up this selected form to use. This is a list of all the forms on the page. So you can show the website, or we can actually just show the form itself. And then it's not the search form, it's not unknown. In this case, it happens to be this particular comment form. And again, we can do different things here. Just click on each one and basically look at it. And so as you go through here, you can see the actual website. But I'm just going to show the form itself. And so when we click inside of each box, we then need to train it here in the next section. So basically, we want to be able to see this so that we can see the actual form that we want to train, so that in the next section it'll work. So if you see like search form, obviously that's not right. So once we have that, we're going to hit select, and then now we're going to do click in each box and we're going to train it. So this particular thing is name, so that would be username. Click OK. Email, pretty basic, user email. OK. Homepage is going to be user URL, and then you don't have to do a reply here. You can just leave that. Here is going to be the actual comments box, and then here is CAPTCHA, so this would be image capture result. And then there's other ones that you'll see come up here. For instance, there's text capture result if it's a text captcha. There's checked, so we could do check boxes or unchecked, that sort of thing. And then there's 4 user defined fields. So these are basically custom fields if it doesn't match username, user email, perhaps it's some other element that form requires. And then combo box, which is a drop down. And the way to use combo box is you would just select combo box, and then in your actual definition file you can just put in anything that you want chosen, and it'll choose that from the drop down list. And so if it's a platform that is known, like one of these, then you want to select it because the Learning Mode Poster has special handling built in to work with those particular platforms. Otherwise, this would be pretty well chained. We can show learned form data and see it here. And then we can actually save learned form data, which I've already done. And then URL modifier is basically if you need to modify a URL based on that particular platform. So once that's done, we've actually trained it. We probably need some proxies. Now, you can just test those in Scrapebox. I'm just going to copy them here, and then we can just load them from the clipboard. And we have some working proxies here. And then we would go to the poster, but under here you of course get save to file, save to clipboard, clear the proxy list. You don't really test proxies inside this window. You're going to test them in Scrapebox, and then you're going to bring them into this window. And so under poster we have some options, but before we get into that, let's look at setup here. So we can tick off to use proxies or not, probably a good idea. We can tick off to use manual capture image solving, or we can use deCAPTCHA services if we have that set up. On this particular instance, I don't have it set up, but it's straightforward. You set it up in Scrapebox, and once it's set up in Scrapebox, you come over here and you just tick it off and it works. And then we can do timeouts and connections and change those. I'm just going to leave those as they are for the time being. And so generally we want to load the definition file first, because that sets the parameters here. So we're going to click this. I'm going to load the definition file that we saved off from in the learning section, and when we do that, you can see it grays out some of these boxes because they're not trained in the learning mode definition file, so that's pretty handy. So then we need to load in names, so I'm just load up this stuff here. These are pretty basic. Whatever you would, your URLs are going to be your websites, and then comments and that sort of thing. Pretty basic. And then this down here, what it does is it saves a list. So if I wanted to continually use these particular files, the names, emails, websites, and comments, then I can save that and then just go here, and rather than loading in each file individually, it'll load all of them in at once. So it's almost like a project file in Scrapebox, but it doesn't actually save the information like a project file does. It just saves the paths to these files. So if you move the files, the actual, like if I move this names file, rename it or delete it, and then I load in this list, it'll have a path to a file that doesn't exist, and it's not going to work. So it doesn't actually save the data, just a path to the file. And then of course clears it all out. This selection here under randomly or sequentially, basically what happens is it's just using the user website with the user name in random order or sequential order. So if I put a bunch of anchors I want in the username field and a bunch of websites I want in the website field, and I choose random, it's going to apply any random anchor to any random URL. If I do sequential, I could put 3 anchors in, and the first anchor might be blue widgets, and the first website in the websites file might be bluewidgets.com. Second anchor down would be yellow widgets, and second website down would be yellowwidgets.com. And if I choose sequential, it'll use those in appropriate order and line the anchor text up with the actual URLs there. And then once we have that all done, we need to load our list of URLs to try and comment to. So let's load those here. Test URLs that I have. And then once that's done, we have the option to capture post response or not. If you do, it'll only post up to 200 URLs. This is for training purposes. Up here you can see processed. That's basic. But success, in order to generate that success, you have to basically post to a URL and then go in and edit it and tell the learning mode what to look for in order to qualify that as a success or not as a success. So let's go ahead and we'll do that. Capture post response and hit start posting. And of course it tells us this is going to stop at 200 URLs. I have manual capture solving enabled, so it'll come up, and basically for this video I'll just type out a couple here. And let me pause this while I do that. Okay, so I typed in the URLs and it finished posting. You can see some various things here. This completed response received means it received a response from the end website. And basically this is the response viewer, so we're going to click on each one. And what you want to do is you want to scroll down through it and look for some text on the page that shows that it was a response. So generally we're looking for something that comes back that says your comment was successfully added. So we would want to go highlight this and then hit save response. Now that'll choose that as anytime it sees this text on the response page, it'll assume that it's successful and it'll put it up here as successful. Now it says warning here, this comment needs approval before being displayed. If you're particularly only after auto approves, you might not want that page because it says it went to moderation, but you know, at the end of the day you can use the link checker to find out. So it's usually a good idea just to stick it in there. On the flip side of life, if you don't really care about the success percentage and you're just going to post and use a link checker and determine success that way, you can do that as well. But this gives you a nice kind of overview. So as we click on a couple more here and go down through here, we can see that one doesn't really have anything on it that looks useful. And then continuing on down the line, same concept. Whenever you find your comment was successfully added, save response, that sort of thing. And when you're done, you can hit close. Now if I go ahead and post these again, for instance, just so we can see the response rate here, and I'm going to pause it again so I can type in some captchas. And it's just finishing up here. This time I went ahead and unchecked capture post response, and you can see here some failed, completed user URL found, up here success 3, 30%. And again, we didn't go through all these URLs to check what the responses were on all of them. So if you have 200 of them there, you can go through 200 of them, for instance, and probably get a good idea. I went through 2 and trained it, so this percentage is subjective. But anyways, you get the point. And so that's how it works. We can clear URL list, of course. The posting options are down here, and then we get loading options in here. But basically, picked up a few links here from a new platform. And also, I wanted to mention that the learning mode poster is fully Unicode compatible, so you can actually post Unicode comments and UTF-8 comments and that sort of thing, and put those characters in your comments, and the learning mode fully supports it. And then you can of course use the add-on to scrape the Unicode characters, the Unicode add-on, but that's a different video, Unicode converter add-on. And then I also have an older video on the learning mode, just kind of goes over a different platform from a different take, and I'll put a link to that in the notes. Some people might find that helpful as well. And that is how the learning mode poster works.